Hello and welcome to another Bennessy Draws. Thanks again for hanging out with me. This is becoming a bit of a fun thing to do a week. Today we're going to draw Agent Venom as requested by Kyle from the PANELOIDS podcast, who I will be on with after the stream later on. So please, when you finish here, join us over there. It'll be a lot of fun. They're doing a Pictionary live stream in true PANELOIDS trivia game fun. It should be a lot of laughs. So please follow over there. That'll be great. What else? I haven't posted the video from last week because I want to do lots of little edits in a different format than what I was doing before. I want this to be a kind of a speeded up process video. There's little bits of the process that I give away that I want to give little short videos, more time to listen to me talk about my dialogue and the reason why I went this way versus that way, that kind of stuff. So I will have those process videos up hopefully at the end of this week, and I'll have them up at Reels on Instagram. I'll have them up at short videos on TikTok and shorts again on YouTube. So most of the places you follow me here, you can see me there. Twitch is the only one where I wanted the short videos. It's all long format on Twitch. What else? There's still t-shirts. There's more t-shirts to be added to the store. My newsletter didn't go out last week, valid reasons. I want to add something else to it, and I have to wait for that to come in. It's coming in tomorrow, so hopefully at the end of this week I'll have the newsletter out. But I will be at CelticCon. It was announced, I think, last weekend. I'll be a guest at that on the bank holiday Monday. Any other news? I don't think so. I think it's all more or less the same as I was kind of saying last week. My monthly prints in the Bennessy store at Bennessy.com. I'm going to change that up a little bit. It's not going to be a new print you won't see until I put it out at the start, or maybe through a month anymore. It's going to be one of the drawings I do on my stream here, or maybe all the drawings I do on my stream. The stream is going to change a little bit, and every second week is going to be a change between an odds page and a pinup like we have here. So this week pinup, next week odds page, week after that pinup, week after that odds page. More or less the odds pages will be me talking about my process. So every week there'll be change in what mini videos go out the following week as well. Go on to my website, there's a portal there for commissions. I'm not really taking at the moment unless it's, maybe someone needs a very urgent birthday present or something. Hit me up and see if I can find a time for you. But there's still prints, and then there's a link to merch, t-shirts, hats, jumpers, my phone covers, and water bottles, a whole bunch of stuff. But today, Kyle has asked for Agent Venom, and I'm very happy to oblige. This is not a character I've drawn before either, but I'm kind of enjoying drawing characters I haven't drawn before on the stream. It's kind of cool. I'm kind of learning a bit. Even just kind of looking at the rough pencils that I posted up later, I'm looking at for the first time again today. I know that there's a character detail I missed. I'm gonna apply that when I'm drawing the real thing here, when I'm making it here, and I'm also going to do a couple of little edits. The drawing itself might be anatomically correct, but I like things to look a little bit different, and if I change my silhouette for a certain reason, it's not just because the leg would look this certain way, it's because the silhouette would look better, that kind of stuff. And all the reasons to do this. And all in the pencils, there's things that I'm hinting at, maybe thinking about doing, I might follow through on. But there we go. Agent Venom. I'm going to kill the music because the last few times I've had it on during the stream, while I'm concentrating on the drawing, I am leaning away from the mic and looking in, and then it's harder and harder to hear what I'm saying. So I got a heads up before to maybe kill it. So that's what I do now, and we'll get straight into this. So I mentioned before about having a kind of a 60-40 or 70-30% favoring of black or white on the page. This is definitely going to be black. Like I think his costume, I'm going to have him on a night sky. I think that's the best way to do this. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this. This is a character I really like, but I'm a sucker for absolutely pretty much anyone in the Spider-Man universe. They're all brilliant characters. Well, I haven't said. Sorry, I should have said. Thank you so much for tuning in and checking out the stream. I'm really enjoying doing this, and it's great getting people who are tuning in regularly to watch this happen. And that's really cool. Thank you. But now that I think I have remembered all the important stuff, I think I'll get into the drawing. So, in pure Bennessy fashion, I have fallen back on my trope of using a moon. I kind of like it here. I'm not sorry about it. I'm gonna follow that one through. But you can see here from my rough initially. That's more or less the kind of anatomy how it would play out. But I think this leg here looks a little short, even though it's coming backwards a bit. I think it still looks a bit short, so I'm going to change that. And this is the joy of working digitally. Just yeah, something like that. And even this, I think I could make a little longer. It's kind of like what I keep talking about every week, where I like to leave the image maybe overnight, have a look at it the following day if there's any edits I'm going to make, because that little bit of fresh eyes and having a look at something for maybe 2 hours or so is usually what we aim for. You might miss something important. Like that already looks a little bit nicer to me. I'm pretty happy with that now. I'm going to cut out some of those spikes. I think they went a bit spike crazy on the rough pencils, and yeah, I think we'll get stuck into this. I think one thing I have failed to do is actually tell people that I'm going live. I will do so pretty quickly here. Bear with me. Da, 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 da. Do this real quick, real quick. Quote and go. Boom. See me doing that in real time. How about that? There we go. So let's get stuck in. Agent Venom, a cool character, great request. And by the way, if anyone would like to request characters for me to draw, you can do so. And put it into the comments here, or follow up on one of my socials, or any one of those really. And I'll bump it up to the top of the list. Otherwise, I'm just kind of drawing what I want to draw. And like any good guy, I'll put you guys first. Huh? No, just the right size. We like that at 7.1. There we go. All the other brushes I quite like are there. And let's get into this. The character, I kind of see so many versions and takes some cuts and changes, and people do this versus that. Than I think I've ever seen. It was hard to find a set like turnaround for the guy. Really tough, really hard to find. Actually, I'm going to start with the head because, again, kind of like the Vader piece, like I'm not that familiar with this, and I kind of feel like if I start with his head, it'll set a tone for me. But yeah, I hope you have the coffee on. If you feel like staying up to watch me on with the Paneloids boys afterwards, maybe hit us up in the comments there and let us know you moved from one stream to the other. That'd be really cool. But I do understand that it's a bit late this side of the pond for anyone who's also working tomorrow. And if there's anything you kind of see me do that's maybe a little bit different, or maybe something you haven't seen before, you have questions about it, again, hit the comments, and I'll have to tell you why I did what I did when I did. I think on last week's stream, we didn't get to inks. I think we inked like a little bit of a page, or a little bit of a panel, I should say. It was mostly pencils. Just trying to figure out all kinds of stuff regarding a page for the odds, and a lot of how I kind of start to where I kind of let myself get with it, pencils to before I start on inks. I thought was a bit different, bit more of a thinky is the word I'm gonna go with. A bit more of a thinky episode. Um, talk technique, all kind of stuff like that. Whereas when I have things penned out a bit more thoroughly, like I have here, I can be a bit more free flowing with the conversation and use big words like thinky. This is another one. Like he has so many different eyes on so many of his costumes, and sometimes he has like lenses, sometimes he doesn't have lenses. I understand he's a bit more of a shapeshifter than we've seen maybe in some other previous iterations of Venom, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I thought it was really weird how I think if you were reading um, a big Marvel storyline where there's multiple people working on multiple different titles, but they would have some kind of crossover with some characters. It would be a bit jarring to see, one artist's take on a character versus another's. It's also that's also a really fun element in comics though, because when you're what was I doing there? Because when you're working in animation, you must stay to the model sheet. It's everything depends on you doing so. But you get to see so many people try things in comics. Characters with different haircuts sometimes even. But this guy had so many different versions of what he looked like. I thought it was just nuts. Not something I was aware of. Not something I thought this character ever had. Um, he's also going a lot longer than I thought he had. To me, he was still kind of a new character. He's not new anymore. I'm old. My little shadows here are kind of slowly sculpting out parts of the face, the nose, the kind of jaw line, cheeks, that kind of stuff, using all those little landmarks to try and build the head. I'm gonna go with the lenses on this guy. I hadn't guessed already. I kind of like him since he is kind of a soldier. I kind of want to hit that mark a bit more, maybe than the kind of scary horror, maybe typically Spider-Man eyes on his mask. Just to just to be a bit different, I guess. I have no real issue with doing either or. Actually debating whether I go one way or the other. I have no real main preference, but it just to go with lenses for a change in a Spider-Man for me. I thought this is the guy who's going to be the lens guy. Already feeling that in the head this time around was the best thing to start with. It's funny because it can be something you want to avoid until you're kind of well warmed up and into your drawing, but sometimes it can really set a kind of a tone for what you're trying to do. Um, this is a character I'd like to come back to, visit again once I kind of have drawn him a bit more. You can go very soldier with him, regarding the kind of armor and the body armor his suit looks like, his symbiotic suit. Um, or you can go kind of bug and have it look very kind of beetle like. I tried to do a little bit of both here. Just watching for tangents where I'm plotting those lines. That's all. And I'm going to come back to these areas when I'm plotting down some more blacks on the page. If you see me again looking over and around, I have a bunch of model sheets from various artists. One or two I didn't get a name of and I don't recognize. The other one is Matteo Scalera, and the other one is Declan Shalvey, fellow Irishman, friend, a very talented artist. We got to spend a great bit of time with this character. His iteration is kind of more of a scary mask than a lens tactical armor mask, I guess. Oops. Actually, I should just kind of go right in there. I often find with a character that I'm just not that familiar with, that I'm kind of plotting down things as I go, but I'm not really marrying myself to anything just yet. I might change a few things on the go if I spot an opportunity to push a shape or do something a little different or anything really. But like, you might see me come back to elements of this near the end or when I'm maybe halfway through and plot down some spot blacks. And then you wonder, why didn't he do that at the start? Why is he going back to do that? That would be a fair question. Like, it's hard and it's tough, and as clearly a set of armor, like body armor, that his suit is. Um, it's also a liquid, living thing. Um, so it'd be kind of fun to play with something that's trying to do both those things, because you think one would kind of cancel the other out. And I've also noticed most of the characters I've drawn this year on the stream have been Marvel. So maybe near the end of, or maybe for the rest of the year, so we're nearly at the halfway point, we're already on the sixth. I might I might tackle DC characters. One character I'd like to draw, because I love drawing her, is Wonder Woman. I might do her maybe on the next pinup, unless someone requests something else. Um, but yeah, I only realized that, oh God, I've done so many Marvel characters. I don't think I've touched on any DC, and weird. Haven't meant to do that. That was just sort of a thing that transpired purely by accident. And also, thanks to everyone who joined us on the Odds Pod yesterday. Um, if you haven't joined us on that yet, and you're a fan of the podcast, you can pick up wherever you enjoy your podcasts. Um, Check us out every Tuesday at 9 o'clock on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. You can watch our show there where Dave and I talk about all things comic books, talk a bit about our book, The Odds, and obviously, on brand as The Odds is, talk about the end of the world, all versions of it, and all kinds of pop culture and possible weird, almost maybes of things happening in the world today. That's kind of a new part of our show. Kind of a fun one. I'm enjoying that one a lot. There's so many kind of details on this guy's suit that I think to kind of help the silhouette would be more advantageous to find areas that aren't so detailed that I can kind of play with, like like his bicep and tricep here. When I was first sketching this part out, I'd seen another artist's take where there was kind of another strap around the bicep that led into this armor on the back of the arm. And I'm not against that at all. I just kind of feel like for what I was going for, there was so much on him, it was getting quite noisy. So I remember, because I'm a massive David Coleman fan. I don't know if I've ever mentioned him on the pod before, on the stream. But he's a brilliant artist, and he had this DVD where he talked about his process, about designing characters, and there was a big bit in it that I'd never heard anyone talk about before. And then after he said it, I saw Steven Silver bring it up, and then a few other guys, like Aaron Blaze, that kind of stuff. And what they were doing was they were making one side of their character active and the other one passive or kind of inactive, not up to much. They could really bring your attention, draw your eye to one side of the character, and like it was a bit of a trick in learning what parts to push, what parts to pull, in order to do so successfully. And I've never forgotten that. Like doing less, finding where you're to pull your design, where it's not supposed to be so active. That's a big trick. That's tough to figure out, you know. I don't know if you can get that DVD anymore because I got it years and years ago. But I think it was called The Art of David Coleman. But it's worth watching. His process is brilliant. And he's a nice guy to boot. Doing. So I'm going to leave. There's these little kind of lines in his design. I'm going to leave the back part of his where his tricep is. I'm going to leave that line falling short of his outline, if you understand. And the reason why I'm going to do that is just because there's a moon behind him. So that'll be a light source projecting onto him. So if we remember about that, I think it's Sargent who drew that elephant I keep talking about, where the top of the elephant was left with no lines joining on top as the light was coming down, and then there was loads of heavy lines on the elephant's belly. Just really trying to emphasize the weight and where the light was coming from on that character. All that stuff really helps. So part of one of the things I wanted to change, as I said earlier, I think I'm a bit Spike crazy with this costume at the very start. I think it would be a bit too much to have this many spikes sticking out of his shoulder armor. I think it would be better if it was 2 rows instead of 3, and kind of somewhere around there. Here we go. Again, I'm going to draw them first, and then I'm going to come back and I am going to plot down um, my shadows on them. Again, no point in having it so noisy. Trying to find those areas where you can push your design and areas where you don't need to so much. This is one of those areas where I really liked everyone's take on making his body armor look kind of bug like a beetle-esque. Um, so I'm going to try and bring some of that into my iteration of the character. Getting kind of light with the lines now as I'm again not used to this character, figuring him out as I'm going along. I think if you were watching me draw the likes of Zanzi or Net, it's very much broken down into formula. I knew what I was doing there. But sometimes you go to Comic Cons and folks ask you to draw a character you've never heard of before, and you gotta go look it up and on the fly. So there's no harm in doing things like this now and again. Anyway, now this is something I probably should have spent a bit more time penciling. There's always something I need to spend more time penciling, isn't there? You draw these things often enough, you kind of build up a mental library. But I would suggest and recommend that you don't just start drawing these things. You do spend your time looking at them, learning what they're like, but they actually work. Sometimes that helps inform your design as well. Um, before you just start chucking lines down on a page, drawing something that kind of resembles a gun. Um, get all the homework done first. No, I kind of like the sides at the other end of the gun. So I was drawing the gun in there so I could find out where everything goes because I've kind of just drawn in a basic shape of a hand. And your hand shouldn't be a kind of a flat, um, kind of restricted movement thing. It moves quite a lot. It's very flexible. Um, like when people are drawing like fists and where's my camera? They draw a fist like that, whereas quite often you see the knuckles kind of bulge, they go round, they don't go flat like that. It's not natural. So when you're drawing in your gun, it's important you draw a hand to actually wrap around the gun. And also look up gun grips as well. There's a certain way to hold them, especially when you have two hands on a pistol. Um, all those little things will add a bit more believability in your characters, especially for people who are into those kind of things. Because if they see you do it wrong, it kind of brings them out of the illusion, and you might not get them back. Um, so if you can kind of do enough research to make it look like you know how these things kind of work, and you find yourself keeping all kinds of people more in your story as opposed to trying to get through your story. Um, like how many times or how many people have you seen talk about that was it John Wick? John Wick, relatively recent in terms of cinema, was the first time a lot of I think it was Army Rangers, I believe, were watching it, and they saw a proper trained reload in a gun, and that was the first time they saw it in a film or something. Like, and then they all go nuts. They're all throwing their hats up in the air, big shouts. You know, if you can put as much believability into these things, you'll find yourself rewarded for it. It is worth doing. And I am finding that a lot of these characters that I haven't drawn before, like I did the last Ronin, I did Shred or not Shredder, Darth Vader. Like, yeah, I haven't drawn them before, but why were they fun to draw? Why haven't I been drawing them all the time? This is another one of those designs. I really like it. I like trying to find that balance of this black suit plus where you put in the shadow on it. That's fun. I like that stuff. So there's a bit of me figuring this out, kind of like what I was when I was drawing Levi. Someone who I might revisit because there's a number of things about the design that I did there that I would like to change or edit in some way. But I might do that kind of down the line, maybe even a year into it. The first drawing I do after a year of streaming, I'll tackle Levi Ackerman again, see what I would have done differently. Um, And the same deal with the shoulder arm over here. We're not doing 3 lines, just 2. And as I was talking about guns, making sure you study them enough to build that mental library, the same should apply to things like suits of armor. Um, you'll find that there are certain patterns people stick to for certain reasons, and these patterns are great things to be able to use then when you are required to draw something like it. Again, it always pays off to go and do your homework. You'll always kind of find out where or what actually the design is all about, and then you'll have a look at the design and see what tweaks you can make, what changes you'd like to make. For could be multiple different reasons that you want to go a certain different way. That's fine. That's the whole goal, especially in comics. You get to play around with them, as I said. Um, I'm just drawing in the lines here to make sure that I'm more or less making this symmetrical. I will tidy that up just as I get to the end. So, as I could see in my pencils there, I didn't have it quite right. Nearly did it wrong again there. Talking and drawing. Still haven't figured it out. I think the shape is a bit flat. I think it should be more rounded. There we go. Oh, he's got kind of a high belt and he's got all these Rob Liefeld pockets and stuff on him. Fun. Yeah, I'm just going to rough this out really quickly. Well, as quick as I think I need to. And then I'm going to get into finishing it. I'm still kind of making decisions on the design. And like I was going to leave an open part here to the body armor. I still that doesn't really make sense when this leg on the symbol here goes down onto his character leg. So maybe I won't. It'll be something I kind of go with here, and then you know, having a chance to realize that that's there now, and if I was to change something, that might be one of the things. I might do something a little different. And try not to have your character twinning. I keep talking about that. They don't have to have the same kind of pockets each side. You can change it up. They can be wider on one side, um, smaller, thinner, any of that kind of stuff. Do something to make your character a little bit different, like asymmetrical if you can, on things like to just for some reason again makes them less boring, less stiff, more believable. I love how graphic people are getting with the spider costumes. Like there's so many different versions of bugs and spiders and um arachnid symbols on things. They seem to have kind of explored every which way you could make them go on a costume, and I really like this one, how it wraps around the body. I think that's really cool. So when I was drawing this, because he was a character I'm not that familiar with, and I saw an opportunity to do something I'm familiar with. Um, so he kind of has like these beetle armor boots, and the way I draw those boots is kind of the way I drew Zanzi's boots. Just a little slight difference. Again, when you do your homework and you see how armor fits on joints, you kind of spot opportunities to do things like falling back on what you know when you don't really know how to draw somebody, which is important when maybe the deadline isn't the kindest. You It's good to have those kind of things up your sleeve, um, because not everything is going to be really easy and well timed out. Things happen that don't go according to plan, and you have to be able to move and work around that. I think most of this actually is going to be in shadow. I'm just figuring that out now as I'm plotting these down. This was one of those poses where I was breaking out the gorilla pod stand again. One of these guys. So really good bit of kit. You stick your phone in there, you still have your tripod, and you take a picture. And it was really good for trying to figure out this leg as it's coming towards the screen. Um, you could be spending quite some time trying to figure these things out. Probably makes more sense to just to go and shoot your reference and get it right. Um, Rather than draw it out, scratch it out again, draw, do that a number of times. After scratching it out, you take a shot and go, oh, you know what, I'll just go with this one. And a day later you might throw your eye on it and you go, oh, it's so obviously wrong now. I have to go back and fix that thing. Um, I'm just matching this up to what I'm drawing over here on this leg. There we go. And it just makes everything better. And again, deadlines are deadlines. You got to hit them. If you don't, people will talk about it. People do this in this industry. We all know what, because everyone is generally on such a tight deadline, they want to know what people are like to work with. So if you're late, people are going to know. If you're very difficult to work with, throwing strops all the time, that kind of stuff, people are going to know. It serves you better just to be cool, be nice. There was one angle on one of these that I loved. Matteo Galera did on his design where he has the armor wrap around the back of the calf. Didn't suit me here for the pose that I was going for. But I really liked that. I thought it was great. Yeah, we'll have them go that way. And not just kind of looking at suits of armor, but also, insects and things, and learning what an exoskeleton on a bug actually is, what it looks like, how they move. It's not too dissimilar from going to the zoo to do your zoo studies to figure out four-legged walks, that kind of stuff. Um, all really important things to do, and when you do them often enough, it will give you this mental library you can draw from when you're doing a 2-hour drawing stream. If I was not doing a stream, I probably would have stopped. I probably would have Googled a couple of things there. What beetles look like this versus a beetle that looks like that. Um, and then there's books like The Other, which came out, God, a long time ago now, a long, long time ago now. Straczynski was still writing Spider-Man, and he was kind of managing this huge story through multiple titles. Like what I was talked about, you see different artists take their turn with certain characters, and it was really cool. Spider-Man got like new powers and stuff in it. It was just deadly. I really liked it. And in one of those new powers, he was able to cite the Latin name for whatever spider he was looking at. He just kind of knew it, and had an idea of their strengths, what one spider does versus another, and it kind of opened up my mind to like what are the possibilities when you're drawing Spider-Man, where like you just kind of got a whole other area there to draw some reference from, which is really cool. I loved that run. I thought his run in Spider-Man was brilliant. just kind of making it look like the suit is living, like constantly kind of reacting to situations around him, and like he's able to form his hands into big mallets or big knives if needed, or if he's in a big fist fight, he's able to turn his nails on his hands into big, sharp digits. Um, so even though you're kind of drawing this hard body armor, you kind of have to make it look a bit um, pliable, I guess. Okay, so I nearly have the character kind of roughed out here. Feels a bit like the show I did last week where it was entirely figuring this kind of stuff out. We didn't really get into inks. I went through the perspective tools in the sketchbook, which are very good. And as soon as I kind of get it figured out, I'm going to turn off that pencil there so I can't get lost between the rough lines I did earlier on and what I've just done. And I've just realized, oh yeah, it's okay. I just realized I was kind of drawing in the Venom gloves, and I didn't realize if Agent Venom had the same Venom gloves. That'll tell you how little time I had when I was researching this. Something I would have known right off the bat, or decided against using. Maybe that's something I might have kept Venom. Get the ruler out again. Making sure that all the lines are adding up and going in the right direction. Some of them are not. Making sure I'm still drawing this thing going the right way. There we go. Flip around these things a little bit, see where I'm going. Pretty happy with that. And one of the extra bits of detail that I was talking about at the start of the podcast, the stream, was he has a gun holster over here. I'm going to throw that over his leg now. And it's not this big round circle. There's muscle making all kinds of shapes occur the leg. Again, do your homework and figure out how a leg works, where the muscles are folding over, that kind of stuff. And you'll know what shapes to use, and it'll lend so much volume and again, that kind of believability in your designs. You won't regret making the effort. You just know when you look at a piece of artwork by someone, whether they've actually really studied it or not. Like I can see now that maybe it happened when I changed the leg, that the perspective on this is actually off. It would be more like something like that. And it would go around the knee and back in. Oh, we don't want the pencil, we still want the nib around here. Actually, I do something like that, then I'm going to actually, funnily enough, I now see why Matteo Scalera did a similar thing on his knee joint in the armor. It's another thing you'll see when you study other sets of armor as well. Those little parts that come out around here. And I actually don't know what they're called, but they're pretty common. And I'm going to implore him design now. There we go. Okay, so looking around, that all looks pretty good. Pretty happy with that. And I'll start tidying this up. Where are we now? We're an hour in. I'll start tidying this up now, and I will start making some calls and spot blacks as I go along here. So let's do the main body and come back into the guns and that last, because they'll slow me down when I start to think about them. So here we go. I'm kind of thinking now, just as I'm about to do this, sometimes there's lines like this, you might see me break out the ruler tool, but because Venom's in this kind of living suit, and he's also been battered and bruised so much, so many times, that I am going to pretty much freehand it to kind of lend that bit of wear and tear. And I see an opportunity here where I really need to make sure I'm not going to tangent anything there. So I'm going to break that outline and put more of a point on this thing. And I'm going to use a nib on a lot of the shadows here. Again, not the paint bucket tool. Again, looking for those opportunities to draw in some wear and tear, um, that kind of stuff. I think it all really helps come the end of your design. Um, some folks would tell you it's okay to use a ruler in your pencil only. Oh, I'm spotting an accuracy there. This would be closer to about there. Maybe more of an angle around there. And doing so, there'd also be another point around there. This guy wouldn't be bent that way, he'd be bending that way. Yeah, that's more like it. Especially when you're working digitally, it's okay to spot these things. Don't be afraid to edit your pencils. You're not being held prisoner to a decision you made. You can edit that decision when you see that it's incorrect, or you just spot a better opportunity with something else. And he's been lit up here from the back. Moon is, where did my pencils go again? There. So I'm going to have a shadow kind of there, shadow there, there, and there. I think it would look better So something like this. And if you look at all the iterations of 18 Venom is when people are kind of drawing him with a kind of beetle armor, it's bumpy and it's not pristine, slick. So you can leave a little bit of kind of scratchy areas. You don't need to have this again like so slick black, like spot black stuff, like that you take out the paint bucket tool. I think you get your nib and just fill it in. Leave it's white if it ends up that way. If you've missed it, it might add a little bit of texture and a bit of liveliness. So try and choose where you're doing those areas though. Don't just let them be happenstance. You can see here I kind of draw almost as much with the eraser as I do with the nib. Um, I can't remember where I saw that, but it made a lot of sense to me that you'd use the tool you're drawing with to kind of get the same texture and line quality in what you're erasing as much as what you're drawing with. Always thinking about the shape of the object you're drawing. So when you're plotting your shadows, they're falling on the object correctly. And I did spot the time there, and I'm aware this guy is quite detailed, and I do want to have him finished by the time I finish tonight. So I'm going to I might get a little quiet while I'm thinking, but I'll keep an eye on the comments there. If there's anything urgent or anything being asked, I will spot it. Really cool design. Like I can kind of see why so many different artists have gone so many different routes with it. There's so much potential with it. drawing these, I'm starting to see why I accidentally referred to Darth Vader as a shredder earlier. These kind of bracers feel very shreddery. They've really done so much with Venom since he's been around. So many iterations. He's had so many kids, kids, inverted commas. I mean, I've lost count. Must be over 10 at this stage. I wonder who draws the best Venom. Actually, is there a universal favorite? Take the guy. So on them, these kind of pin-up streams, there will definitely be the speeded up edit that'll go out on YouTube and on TikTok and partially on my Instagram. Um, just thinking about the shape of the hand as I'm drawing this, where knuckles are falling, where hands are prone to squash and stretch. Squatch. Hands are squatching. Kind of thinking about those graphic shapes they make, as opposed to getting too lost and caught up in fiddly little details in the shadow. Um, Broad, big shapes are often way better than trying to figure out those tiny little things and creases and gloves and all that kind of stuff. I find anyway, that's my favorite. When you kind of get into nitty gritties, I think you're better off favoring a more graphic approach. Even that looks a bit better. I think like in graphic design, they call those things that kind of hang out on their own. I think they call them orphans. And then unless you can kind of turn it into a style thing, they're generally something you kind of want to avoid. But I believe the term for them is orphans. Could be wrong there. Any graphic design folks in the house watching, feel free to let me know if that's correct or not. Yeah, I might come back to the guns. I'm going to draw them both at the same time. So I'm drawing the same gun. So what I'll do is I'm going to get into the rest of the design for I finish that. Again, dropping in shadows with watching for tangents. Don't want them to happen. And I'll do a tangent sweep at the end that I almost always spot some stuff as soon as the stream is over. But and I'll edit it then, but I'll always do a tangent sweep and a line weight sweep at the end of my drawing, just to make sure things are obeying certain rules, things that look right, um, versus maybe just um, just being plain wrong. Really, I know that there's several ways to do something when it comes to the arts, no matter what part of the arts you're talking about. Um, but despite the fact there being so many ways to do something, there is a wrong way, um, and best to avoid that if you can. But this is the part where I think, kind of like Vader, that this guy's going to start coming alive. You always hear artists say things like, "Oh, I always hate losing all that energy when I go into my inks. I had so much energy and all the squash and stretch that was so nice with my pencils, and I always lose it going to inks." And while part of that is true, I do think that when you go to inks, you have an opportunity to capture a different kind of energy that you won't get in pencils either. Um, so if you're losing it somewhere else, make sure you're gaining it in other places, because that's kind of the trick. But I've never really heard anyone say that. It's just kind of something I discovered as I slowly got into this, because I was one of those guys that did not want to ink, didn't want to do a lot of things, didn't want to work digitally either. But my hand got forced into that when I realized that there's not that many jobs for folks who can't at least do a little bit of both. So as I was kind of hoping, this guy will lend himself quite well to a big silhouette. And I think when I draw my symbiote liquid, whatever the hell you want to call it, I think I kind of like it best the same way I draw blood, kind of hard right angles, something I caught on and when I was drawing Godfell, hard right angles on blood spurts and stuff just created like far more energy. It was far more exciting. Look for it then wherever I could after I discovered that. Just thickening that line now, because I think if I don't, it might affect stuff I do in the line here. Like that. That could have been a big tangent. And that would actually go that way. Just keeping an eye on that clock. the more I'm kind of sitting here thinking about the fact that I've drawn almost entirely Marvel characters since I started doing this. Outside of the characters I obviously did with Vault that are creative by myself. Um, Myself and Christopher Sabella on our book Godfell. And last week, characters myself and Dave have been working on in the odds. And I just couldn't believe that unless they were close to home, I had only been drawing Marvel stuff. So I'm kind of keen now to go and into some DC characters, and I absolutely do think that Wonder Woman will be the first character I'll take to amend that. Quite like drawing her. That's a bit too flat. There we go. Again, avoid that twinning whenever you can. Something like this slick part of the symbiote, that's actually something I wouldn't be too worried about using the paint bucket tool for. I'm just not doing it here because well, it's such a small space. I don't think I really need to. But that's kind of what I mean about using those things at the right time. You know, like a large majority of the time, if you're just using that, you kind of lose an opportunity to that. By that I mean the paint bucket. You lose an opportunity to add in some textures. You know, um, there's some great artists who were able to leave that stuff to the very end to put in their paint buckets. But if you look at what they're doing, they've left in or they've already done quite a lot of texturing before they get to that point. They've already feathered those shadows or details in the costume, or they got it somewhere else. Like those moments of or opportunities for texturing. It's all done already. And that's kind of the trick, you know, making sure you don't miss those opportunities. If you're doing them another part of the process, then it's fine. But I'll see it in a lot of new portfolios where it's just a clear, I drew an outline and put in my paint bucket here, and it kind of looks amateurish. And I would recommend you stop doing it if if that's what you're up to. Okay, just checking out the clock there. Half an hour. See if I can get this guy pretty much done in half an hour. Might need to finish the background tomorrow. We'll see. Just looking up part of this design again, making sure I'm going the right way. Good stuff. Just saw an email there from the guys in PANELOIDS again. If you have seen me talk about it on my socials, I'm going to go on their show after this, and we're going to have a game of Pictionary, talk comic books, I guess. Should be good fun. Please join us over there. They do a great show. Okay, here we go. Now, let's get this bit here done first, I think, and then we'll feel like we're moving a bit faster. So I think because I only have that half hour, I might go back on my paint bucket rule, but instead of just leaving the area spot black, go into them afterwards and add some details there. Um, it might be a little faster. How I'd usually like to give myself the time, but sometimes you don't have the time and you got to come up with something on the fly, and that might just be one of those times tonight. One of the things I've always kind of noticed with this character when he's in the book is he's quite a badass, scary, like kind of means business character, and I think because he's in like a kind of Spider-Man outfit, he's an opportunity to draw a kind of a scary version of it. Someone you can really drape a lot of shadow, um, versus Peter Parker, who yeah, there's opportunities for you to do that with him, but for the most part, he's the Boy Scout nice guy. This guy isn't really the Boy Scout. No, that's the line open somewhere there. Always trying to draw from the shoulder as well to get these lines just right. And there'll be moments where, yeah, you might go draw from the wrist, but for lines like that, you kind of want to make sure it's all coming from the shoulder. I'm just going to draw that because, again, working digitally, taking advantage of it, I can erase those bits and I can still make sure that my shape is round and not kind of losing its graphic strength by having some wobbly lines around it. Line open somewhere. There. See, that was kind of twinning there, so I changed the shape. And I kind of want the symbiote texture to be coming in and folding in around different parts of him. So from the front of his chest here to behind his forearm. This is the thing about those detailed characters. They do take a bit of time to draw. And if you're not familiar with them, take a little bit longer again. Gonna cut that in here so it doesn't tangent with the angle on the bracer. And bucket that. And bucket that. Because that's all a symbiote. Now, watching that tangent there, knew that was going to happen. It's okay if it happens, just make sure you spot it and fix it. No point in having little orphans there either. If that's what they're called. No point in having little orphans there. That sounds horrible, doesn't it? Oh my god. Maybe they're not called orphans. Maybe I better find something else. Just in case they are, and I say lines like that. The little things. Okay. Whole new level of appreciation. Brown's hit a monthly book with this guy. There's a lot of drawing in him. That said, sure be a fun one to draw. There's a lot of them, but it's good. And again, I'm sure if I had a bit more time getting used to him, you start finding those shortcuts and those kind of character pieces you can draw from and continue to use throughout the story. I often hear people say they don't really know how to draw a character until they finish the book they were working on with them. So just kind of, it must take about 5 issues or 6 issues before you kind of really understand what you can do, what you get the most out of from them. Like if you guys look at Gothel and you see I was drawing Net, I think you see a character very much evolve as I went on with the book, and even having some lead way into the book where I had time to practice drawing the characters, I was not practicing them in such a way that it was advantageous to the book. It was more kind of trying to make sure I was staying close by model sheets. Whereas the more I drew the characters, the more I kind of found different shapes to stretch and squash and implore in the designs. And it wasn't something that I expected. Having had the time to prepare my way into getting used to those characters. and not at all. I thought I kind of had a bit of an advantage, even over most artists, but still, when it comes to kind of game time, you don't know these things, I guess, and then you find out on the fly, and you have to adapt, I guess. Come back to those guns now shortly. Let's just try and get some of this done first. Getting right now, this is I'm racing against the clock. Quite like where it's going though. Might be taking a while to do, but I think how it's shaping up. This is the leg on the spider. That's up on his chest. It travels down his leg and wraps around the other side on the back. It's pretty cool. Not going to run the black spot black here all the way across the line with the leg. Kind of run away from it just to kind of create a bit more volume, shape of again avoiding twinning, that kind of stuff in your finished piece. Slowly getting there. We're 2 hours. We're gonna not probably finish this one tonight. I think that's the writing's been on the wall there for a little bit. Uh, we're about to crash there too, I think. We'll make sure we don't lose anything. So actually, this would be about there. It's kind of a bumpy texture. Let me just see what the crack is here. Usually I sit here and finish this, but because I have another stream on tonight, I don't want to be late for those guys. Let me just see and make sure the time that I have set up there with those guys. There we go. Let's see what happens. Always try to make sure that I am informing the volume of the shape instead of just drawing around stuff. Try to finish this foot. And then I think I better call it. There we go. This is one of those times like where picking your spot blacks graphically really help. Like knowing where lights hit the back foot, where your shapes are, you can fill or not fill, that kind of stuff. Yeah, perfect for 1 hour. That's grand. Nice. I'm gonna see if I can do a little bit more on this guy, and if I can finish him, I'll call it a day. All right. And perfect, perfect, perfect. Yeah, I'd like to finish this guy if I could. That would be great. Wait a minute. There we go. Back in there. It really helps to have done some seriously detailed, not rushed pencils sometimes when you're working on these things. And I can't be the only one that doesn't pencil enough and then figure it out when I go to inks, right? That has to happen across the board. Yeah. And if it doesn't, I'll just tell myself that's not the case anyway. Okay, cool. I do like these big beetle boots that he has. So I'll give this another 20 minutes. And then at the top of the hour, 12 o'clock, Irish time, I will be on Paneloids. Feel like a bit of a laugh. Please follow us over. That would be great. Or maybe you're here because saw I was going to be on Paneloids and you've never been on a Bennessy Draws before. In which case, welcome. I hope you enjoyed the show. Or enjoying the show. Just say we're not over yet. Getting close though. Getting close. Now, so moon is behind him. Shadows from these project that way. And then general on the D. Something like that. There we go. There's something quite Gears of War-esque about him, actually, isn't there? Maybe that's the way I've drawn him. No wonder I've gone over the time. Quite a lot of detail in those guys. Love those games. Love those games. Oops. Yeah, I guess this guy would be somewhere between like a cog and a locust. Maybe he's the peacekeeper they all needed. But then just potting down there and just trying to figure out the shape of the shadows. Things open there. Yeah, I'll get this guy more or less done at the 2 hour 30 mark. And yeah, I want to get something finished for the stream, and also because Kyle from Panelioids has asked for this, and I'm going to jump on his show after this. I'd like to show him something kind of finished. But I will come back to this maybe offline or something and finish off the background. Begin and finish the background. Yeah, that's more like it. Begin and finish. There we go. I'm gonna have to go back in now and make sure I don't miss opportunities to put in some texture on these guys. I saw the email, Kyle. Thanks very much. Just need to write you back. I want to make sure I get something finished for you, buddy. Above all, oh, thanks. Thanks very much. I'm glad you like it. Completely underestimated how much detail there was in this guy. And then because Kyle, nice guy Kyle from PANELOIDS, as I mentioned, Kyle's a nice guy, asked for it, and I kind of want to make sure it's a good one. Too early for that one yet. Yeah, there we go. That's one thing about the brush in Sketchbook. It'll leave a little, let me show you. It'll leave a little outline from your roughs. So you have to drop the bucket in again afterwards to get rid of that. There's something to look out for. Right, there we go. There'll be a little bit of tidying up off screen. Oh, not your bad at all. Actually, I'm glad you dig it though. My bad for not getting it entirely finished. But I was probably a bit too ambitious with what I wanted to do with it. In fairness, full body background. The last time I did something to this level was probably the Death Dealer Zanzi I did. Um, that took a while. I think that was finished on a second attempt or something, or a following day or something like that. In every single one of my thumbnail sketches, I had this guy shooting guns. The only one where he had him off to the side, and I feel like next time I draw him, gotta have him shooting something. Actually, I said I'd only draw DC stuff for the rest of the year, but I actually worked on the Hit Monkey TV show, and I worked on season two. Um, so I think for that one, when that comes out, I'll definitely draw a Hit Monkey that month. So there'll definitely be at least one more Marvel picture in me before I go full into DC stuff. Just occurred to me as I drew so many guns and versions of the same gun on that show. Good show. Getting a bit sketchy on the belt just to kind of feel like give it a different texture than the rest of the costume. Where are we on the time? Getting there. Let's do this. Man, keen to get this out in somewhat a finished state here. Give myself a little bit of tidying up to do off screen, all right, but that's okay. I don't mind. Trying to stay as graphic with those black shapes as much as I can. I feel like you can kind of lose it with Gone sometimes if you're not too familiar with it. I kind of find that people who are drawing them on, books where guns are a big deal, they're in lots of stuff. Like people have this gorgeous shorthand for them. Um and like that's kind of where you want to be. You don't want to get too caught up in drawing loads of little details on something that's quite small. There we go. And then I do my usual little flecks of dirt when someone's moving or doing something. Get that bucket out. The fill, make sure we got all those lines gone. And I will go in afterwards and tidy that up a little bit. Take out all the little scratchy lines that I've left in. But there we go. That is our Agent Venom. He will eventually end up with a background that will look something like this. If I get a chance, I might even do a little bit before the stream with the lads. And there we go. Agent Venom. I will post up a picture of it tomorrow when I get it finished. That was really cool. It was a lot of fun to draw. Way more in him than I bargained for, though. I think I was way too ambitious to try and get an almost cover quality image done in 2 hours. But really cool. I will hopefully see you guys who join me for the stream here over on the PANELOIDS live stream. If you're in on YouTube, you can see their comments. You can click on their profile, follow them, and we'll see you there. If you're watching via Twitter or if you're watching via Twitch, go and find them. I believe they're on all the same platforms I'm on, plus some. They have a few more, and should be a great show. Pictionary, you name it. As always, if you go to the here's my call to action stuff at this stage of the show. You go to Bennessy.com for prints, comics, editions. You can buy some merch there now. Hats, water bottles, t-shirts, hoodies, you name it. Little jokey cartoons that I've done and some pin-ups that I've done. And I'll have this guy up over the next day or two, fully finished. The kind of process shorts that I did on last week's stream will be up soon. They took a bit longer to go up because those kind of videos take a bit longer to do. But I think they'll be worth it. And they'll go up on Instagram, they'll go up on TikTok, and they'll go up on YouTube Shorts. Other than that, I think that might be everything. Thanks to everyone who joined me for the stream again today. I will be working on the odds again next week, so you'll see me kind of take a page from pencils to inks, or just from nothing to pencils. And as I go along the way, I'll describe my technique, why I go one way versus another, that kind of stuff. You'll also find me on the odds on Tuesday night next week at 9 o'clock GMT, where Dave, writer of the odds, and myself go through all things odds. Until then, I'll see you guys in half an hour on the PANELOIDS. See you later. Bye.